At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another Friday night debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to be delving into some current issues. We've seen a lot of things going on. The CDC campaign rallies. We have even death toll. Now, we also learned that VP Jewel Howard Taylor has donated $8,000. Is this form of, is it real donation or buying votes? Some people are saying. Yeka Koluba love him or hate him. He's controversial. This is the controversial representative. Is he for the? Does he cut across party line? In fact, he is spewing out of insults or vulgarity. Should platform like Focus on Liberia air those vulgarities? We want to look into that. Bay Mountain consensual deal has been extended. What's going on here? The United States has threatened sanction again. They say whoever tempered to manipulate the electoral process, they will not waste time to sanction. Also, we want to look at the Cummings campaign team. We got some NPFL guys at the top. Well, maybe we shouldn't be crying on Prince Johnson alone. There are other ex-fighters and supporters. So we'll take a closer look at the Cummings campaign team. Last but not the least, VP Boakai on the campaign trail. There were a lot of things about VP Boakai. People say he's sick, he's too sick and old to be on the campaign trail. They were not expecting him. Is he there? How is he doing? Is he taking back seat? People doubted he was too sick or tired to campaign. Is he campaigning? We're going to follow Mr. Boakai on the campaign trail and see how he's doing. Joining me to debate all this, I have the die-hard sedition. He is the unapologetic and unabashed sedition, Jerome Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me right after the day when we had this tsunami turn Liberia blue. Thank you very much. I'm here ready to rock and roll.
Thank you. Let me welcome the independent Jimmy Eastmans from the nation's capital. Jimmy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. Our nation is at the crossroads, and what we decide now will decide our fate for the next 6 years. So I hope we can provide Liberians the kind of information they need to make the right choice.
Thank you, Jimmy. Let me welcome Mr. Rochefort Manaswa Collison, who now supports Boakai. Mr. Collison, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. John, and I hope today my introspection into the reason why I support Boakai and the issues that we are about to discuss will be more enlightenment to the Liberian people. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Let me welcome a freelance writer, Ja Nimne Blamo. Blamo says he's not going to disclose who he supports, but most of the time when he talks, you see some WIA or CDC coming out. But let me not predict. Mr. Blamo, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. It's a privilege to be on the show. I believe that the election this year is a very important one. And at the end of the day, my prayers and wish is that Liberia win. And my position is that we should all be nationalists, regardless of party affiliation and tribe. We should put Liberia first. And that's my position for now. Thank you.
Let me also welcome Mr. Ambula Mame. He is from Team Gonglo Yakbaglo. He's a Gonglo supporter. Mr. Mame, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. Good to be here.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Facebook is kind of giving a hard time. There's not recommending our show for some weird reason. So if you are watching, please share the show, invite someone. And this is by far one of the best shows on the planet. So please share the show and let's get started. We want to start with the CDC rallies. And let me welcome my colleague from Waplo Institute all the way from behind God's back in Kilipo, Kanwekan River G County. That's Mr. Mohammed Sharif. Mr. Sharif, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Hey, Dennis, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. This could be a reunion between you and Mr. Manaswa Collison.
I know, right?
Yeah, the great Manaswa Collison.
I know, Jerry. We'll talk about that later on.
So let's start the show. I think most of you have watched the campaign has been going on for some time now. I want us to start with the CDC campaign rallies. Jerome Coy's tsunami. Jerome.
Yes, sir.
What's your reading of what's going on with the CDC rally? You see a lot of things happening, right? A lot of crowd. People are dying. There were some accidents. Death. We also see this whole idea of campaign T-shirts. People are saying, "We will eat your money," and all that kind of thing going on. You are a CDCian. What's your reading of where the CDC is right now when it comes to campaigning?
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. As you can see, I am laid back. I am relaxed. I have my ears on the ground. The president has visited 7 counties, and we have independent reporters and poll takers from the international community following everybody, and they're doing this. We like where we are. Everywhere we have gone, one thing I have told the CDC is the quote from Bill Clinton. He says, "I may not have everything, but one thing I'm not going to allow, you are not going to outwork me. I am going to outwork you. I'm going to be one of the first at the stadium, and I will be the last to leave, and I'm going to kiss every baby, and I'm going to shake every hand. And there is no red state or blue state. I'm going in every state." He said the most powerful thing that a politician can do is look a person in the eye, shake his hand or her hand and say, "I want your vote," whether it is in the opposition camp. And George Weah is the epitome of that mantra. While the other political candidates are in Monrovia, George Weah have done 7 counties already. 7. He's taking a day's rest, and he's going to the Midwest. He's going to Bong, Nimba, and then he will swing around into Lofa, and then get ready for the Southeast. So we look good. As far as we are concerned, this thing is in the bag. It's a matter of getting our folks out on the 10th. On the 11th, I will be here with you, and I will be telling Mommy, "I told you so."
Thank you. Mr. Collison, meaning some are predicting, oh, this is a CDC versus Unity Party. How do you look at the CDC campaign rally? So, somebody was telling me, oh, it's not packed like 2017. I said, well, this is not 2017. What's your reading? There have been, Jimmy,
Well,
you are logging on more than once, Jimmy. What's going on?
well, firstly, let me use the opportunity to have a second of silence for my niece. Her name is Devietta Witherspoon Banks. She was one of those victimized by the CDC rally yesterday in the Ghana's belt. You saw the Facebook picture of her leg being busted, and immediately upon arrival to the hospital, the doctor pronounced that her legs was to be cut off. She passed out. And Dennis, I'm sure you can connect my cousin, Mafi Kamara in Zedakode, that's his daughter.
Oh, wow.
So just so you know that. So it's a sad thing that the ruling party that has all of the machinery for advantage when it comes to security, traffic, and every other thing could not have a very civilized conducted rally. And so many lives were lost yesterday. But peace be unto them. The campaign of the CDC yesterday was a dismal failure. And because there are so many accounts of every rally the CDC have had in Liberia, how civil servants, community people have been bought, civil servants have been coerced into going out with threat of losing their jobs and what have you. We say this for fact that the records are there. We speak to family members. We see the videos of people, just what you seen, Mr. Job, the song, the singing going around. We'll either money, we'll do this, X, Y, Z, but it's Boakai that we want and what have you. And with a party like the Congress of Democratic Change that have the access to national covers, they can do anything they want to do. They can expend money as much as they want to expend money because the pockets are deep. But like many people are sitting down today and asking themselves, we have not had this opportunity for the last 6 years. We never saw some of these people for the last 6 years. Now they are coming with the money of the $50 million in the budget. Well, we'll take some. But at the end of the day, if we give them our vote, we know that that will be the last result of our own life. They will not come back again after they retain power. That's why you are seeing with the campaign, that's why you are hearing from the Laban people. I'm not there, we're not there. We sit afar, but I can tell you that the campaign was a dismal failure. For public safety, it was a dismal failure. For research allocation, it was a dismal failure. And for messaging, it was a dismal failure.
Thank you.
So, be it as it is, we are looking forward to more other productive campaign that will come from other political parties. And come the 17th of September, the United Party will showcase itself for the campaign. We will now compare and contrast as to how it was conducted.
Thank you.
Let
me go to Mr. Blamo. I know you've watched the CDC campaign, and not just the rally, but even before then.
To register my condolence to my brother for what happened during the CDC event. But let's give credit to where credit belongs. The rally was an impressive display of support and enthusiasm for the president. Thousands of Liberians came from all walks of life. And it was a significant milestone for both the party, the president, and it was electrifying. The goal was not just to mobilize the base, but it was to attract supporters, and it spoke to the undecided because there is a massive campaign going on that George Weah cannot win election. And it reminds me of Donald Trump campaign in the US. Trump told his supporters that he will win no matter what. And at the end of the day, he lost, but his supporters swallowed the idea that Donald Trump could not no way be defeated. And it became a disaster, and the march on the Capitol. So where George Weah comes out and create this kind of display and support, it should remind people that he is still the president and he still commands support. And I think that's what happened yesterday in that rally. He made a statement. Okay, there could be bigger statement made tomorrow by the other parties, but Weah made a statement yesterday. That's my view.
Thank you. Please elaborate more on the Donald Trump comparison. You said, and the insurrection on January 6th. Please explain what you mean. Well,
basically, and Donald Trump is a very, very enthusiastic and a strong political figure who believes that he can never be defeated.
Right.
And he displayed this confidence, and people believe in him like a messiah figure. He convinced his supporters that there's no way he could be defeated at the poll. And after drilling this message over and over to them, they swallow it and believe it. Mm-hmm. So when the actual election came up, Donald Trump was defeated soundly.
Right. The parallel to George Weah. That's what I'm waiting for.
Or parallel to George Weah?
Yeah. Are you saying that after the election, if George Weah loses the election, there are going to be riots?
No. I'm saying that people believe that George Weah will lose the election. Okay. And I believe that they should be very careful because George Weah has some very strong support in Liberia and he intends to win the election. And he has the support for that. So if you're going to run your campaign, but don't go down believing that you won and George Weah can never win the election. That's a fantasy.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Mame on his take on the Weah campaign rally.
There is something I can always refer to as the tyranny of the silent voters. During the Monserrado senatorial elections, the CDC used the SKD, the Sambia Kanyado Sport Complex, which capacity is almost 2 times more than than the stadium they used yesterday, which is the ATS. When CDC used the SKD during the Monserrado senatorial election, the narrative was to send a message, a strong message, that George Weah has sent a mandate across the county that DeLon should be the shortest serving senator in Monserrado County. When the results came up, DeLon defeated Thomas Fowler, and you know the record, more than the vote George Weah even received when he contested as senator. There are different accounts of how rallies do not translate into vote in Liberia. When you have a country where you have a government in place that reduce people's salary, increase taxes on them, whether it is voice call taxes, whether it's taxes for goods and services, and exchange rate had the cost of living high, no job for the young people. The tendency for people to turn out to rally for $20 or $30 is just very high, like we started to see people protesting and fighting over money all on the street. So we are not carried away by these rallies, whether it's from Unity Party or it's from CDC. We're not carried away by the rallies because we have sufficient evidence to convince ourselves now that rallies do not really translate into votes. In most recent history in Liberia, they don't translate into votes. So I'm not carried away by that. We're not carried away by that. The election, a few weeks from now or a month from now, is between the people who are suffering on one end, and we are a few cabinet officials who are enjoying, and the rest of the other people around them who expect to receive some of the crumbs from what they are enjoying. So that's where the election is. Some people who are suffering will turn out to rally because they expect to get some money to feed their house the next day. But at the end of the day, when they go to the polls, they will be asking themselves, where am I today? No job, no investment to create jobs. We have drugs in the country. The president makes no statement. Cost of living high, and the president is living extravagant lifestyle. He built more horses for himself than he built schools for the entire country. That one will be on the ballot when the people go to vote. You took over $1,500 from a family by cutting their salary. But you pay their child, you allow government to pay $65 of their child wire fee, and you expect them to be happy. So yes, we can talk about the rally, but we'll not move about it. We have seen rallies not turning into vote. Right. We are optimistic that the election is between the people who are suffering and the few people who are enjoying. And at the end of the day, the people who are suffering will change the course of their country.
Well, Mr. Mame, will you be happy if that number you saw behind George Weah be behind Councillor Gonglo?
Nobody, not behind Weah, because you see, the thing about the number is when the number is authentic and organic, then you're happy. You see genuine supporters behind you. But when you see people are packed in container trucks, probably you didn't see the picture, I will send it to you. When you see people are packed in container trucks and being transported, you can't be happy, you should be worried.
I've seen a lot of those pictures and then videos. Sometimes I don't believe them anymore.
If I saw that crowd behind Gonglo, I would be worried that as a political strategist, I would be misleading my candidate. I would raise his hope so high that at the
point of correction. I would like to make a point of correction. And there are less than 10% of the whole population in the country with government jobs. Even if 1,000 people got their salary cut by 1,005, we cannot make a conclusion that the entire nation got that salary cut. And if you want to discuss salary cut, you got give us the reasoning behind them. And the government is not here to give a reason. You are not listing whose salary was cut and why, what were the measure involved. And so I'm not sure whether there's a massive campaign speech you're making or you are talking something that we can debate, because I don't know how to debate the issue that is absence of facts. Then you talk about container. And people who have rallies in the United States are transported by buses. Martin Luther King loaded buses of people to come for rallies. So if people rallying a bus is now a crime, then it's something that we need to debate. But I think you should bring something that we can talk about versus making a wild conclusion on a specific fact.
Thank you.
So let me respond to him. Let me respond to him briefly. There's a culture dichotomy you're missing in the discussion. There has been a culture of George Weah supporters demonstrating commitment to his cause by walking from their houses to come. That was how they demonstrated support. By printing their own t-shirts, that was how they demonstrated their support. By transporting themselves, that was how they demonstrated support and commitment. So the cultural dichotomy you're missing is, in the US, movement from one place to another is as difficult or high difficult than in Liberia. You can't tell somebody to leave from Texas and go to Washington, D.C. to protest and you expect them to walk. They wouldn't do it. I come in.
Mr. John, let me cut to the chase here
Hold on.
you allow him to be going for about 12 minutes here.
No,
Because he
hold on.
intercepted
You have
me.
to put time today because the gentleman has his side all screwed up. Let me deal
Because
with
he
it one at a
interrupted
time.
me.
Let me deal with it one at a
Hold
time.
on, Mr. Gamer. Hold on, Mr. Gamer. Mr. Gamer, hold on.
So let me learn.
Let Mohammed learn. Then we have Mohammed and Jimmy. They have not spoken.
So the difference in
Hold on,
culture is now what. Let me learn 1 minute. So the difference in culture is now what you discussing. I'm discussing the culture of support has shifted. Give me 1 minute.
Hold on, Gamer.
Mr. Moderator, you gotta put time to this because this man is
I was not going this far.
here.
Give me, hold on.
He is spewing garbage that needs to be debunked. 12 minutes is too long.
Not 12.
Hold on, Mr. Gamer.
You got. I've been watching the time. You got here 8:20, 8:32.
You interrupted me.
You got here 8:32. Look at the time.
You interrupted me and spoke for almost 3 minutes.
Yeah, but look at the time, man.
Mr. Gamer, please let the man learn. So
Listen,
go to the next.
I want you to be honest. I want you to be fair. Give everybody time so we can talk. And when the time ends, you cut it off.
Mr. Gamer, give me time. Let him learn, please.
So in 1 minute, I was concluding. There's a culture dichotomy that you miss. You cut the culture from America and pasted it in Liberia. People walk from Yucatan to Broad Street to show commitment. They walk from Sinco to Broad Street to show commitment.
And that's the only way to show commitment, to walk.
Mr. Blamo, I'm glad that you said it because.
But you keep interrupting me.
Please end. Mr. Gamer, you guys can do this now.
Yeah.
Let the man end his thought. Muhammad has not spoken. Jimmy has not spoken. And it is just you and Blambo interrupting him. Let him learn, please.
Just give me 1 minute.
Because when you talk for 12 minutes, that's what happens.
Okay, Dennis, I reserve comment that the other people go ahead so we can go ahead with the show.
Thank you.
But Mr. Gamer, you can't do this, please.
No, but the idea you cannot give him 12 minutes and get everybody else.
Gamer, this is not your show. This is not your show, Gamer.
I time myself for 3 minutes. I time myself to 3 minutes.
The moderator will tell you to wrap up.
He's on here for 12 minutes.
Gamer, this is not your show.
Mr. Gamer,
that is not the point. That is not the point. I am making a point. I'm this is an observation. I don't have to be the moderator.
Yeah, when you are about to speak, you will make that point. When you are about to make that point,
we are 5 on here, 12 minutes. You have no time.
Let us not talk over each other. The people are listening to us. Give me a chance to be whistling. Okay, please.
I'm telling them, I'm suggesting to the moderator that we have a time.
No, you're not suggesting. You are interfering.
Jimmy, go ahead. Jimmy, it's your turn.
Well, you know, we can expect this is debate night for folks there in FOL land. It is interesting. The CDC turnout was the largest I've seen in all the political campaigning this season. And yes, I also noted that there were scenes where money was being divided. And we must cite here that democracy should not come at a cost. Political bribing or paying for votes undermines political integrity. Because if you are doing what is good in the common interest of the people and the citizens whom you serve, then you will not need to bribe anyone. But our situation, we do know that people are in dire needs. And if I'm in a position, I would also help my partisans. At the same time, we don't want to undermine democracy. We always knew that Monrovia, Montserrado, it was the CDC stronghold. So it's not unexpected that we see such a large turnout. Well, I am of the belief that this election will be won in counties like Bassa, Nimba, and Lofa. No matter what the outcome is in Monrovia, as we've seen many political parties bringing in supporters. But the key to winning this election will not be Montserrado. It will be in those 3 counties. And that will determine who will be the next serving president of Liberia. So it was a fantastic turnout, greatest ever. It was marred by scenes of money being shared. Notwithstanding, the election will be won in those 3 counties I mentioned.
Thank you. And Jimmy, don't you think that those 3 counties you mentioned plus Monserrate are all being contested?
Yes.
But nobody is fighting. We are in the southeast. Don't you think the election could be won in the southeast?
Because of the numbers that were quoted by the censor, it wasn't very significant. However, that will add to the tally. And so it is important also to mention that there were people concerned about the censors and the demarcation of the electoral areas. But none of that seems to have phased anything as the Supreme Court knocked both challenges down.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Jimmy, what I mean here is if Nimba alone population equals the whole of Southeast, and we have, for instance, takes all the Southeast, then they are all competing in Nimba. Don't you think it gives him more advantage?
It gives him a leg up, definitely. The more areas you win gives you a better advantage.
This is not electoral college, right?
Yes, clearly, the more areas you win gives you a better a leg up on your opposition. So yes, having the securing the Southeast, if that is the case, we haven't heard much from the Southeast in terms of their sentiments about who they will vote for. The key areas of interest have been Lofa, Nimba, and Bassa. So yes, the Southeast is important. It does have few votes, but we'll see what happens in the end when these other 3 areas.
Thank you. Let me go to Mohammed. Mohammed, what do you make of Mr. Weah, the CDC, and the rallies?
Well, thank you, Dennis. Someone said that to beat the man, you have to beat the man. So George Weah has been very significant.
What's up? What are the part of your owner?
Mommy,
mute, mommy.
Okay, go ahead, Mohammed.
George Weah has been very significant in election after election since 2005. The majority of the Liberian people, I believe, think like George Weah, and they are more in the mold of George Weah. So I think that what you're seeing now is not a surprise. I believe that there may be a drop off from previous election, but he is still popular with a certain segment of the Liberian people. You just mentioned the Southeast. Now the opposition has abandoned for all intents and purposes, I believe, the Southeast. And what George Weah has been able to do, he has made by his policy, made the Southeast very impossible. It's physically a no-go area. Dennis, you should see the muddy mess that's on that road from Monrovia, from Ganta to Zwedru, or from Ganta to his home state of Grand Cruz, a muddy mess. Who's going to take their time to go out there and spend 3-4 days on the road just to get to Cape Palmas? So that is by design. I believe that George Weah is not doing anything. So it's a mixture of incompetence and design. But at this time, close to election, what benefit does George Weah have to fix that road? He has no interest in fixing the road. He's sitting in Monrovia. He's enjoying support in Monrovia. He's enjoying support in the Southeast. So if I were a member of the opposition in the opposition legislature, won't you hold the Minister of Public Works accountable to fix the road, to try to at least appear before a congressional committee to explain why it is impossible for other candidates to go to the Southeast. From what we're hearing now, George Weah is avoiding that road. He has the capacity, he has the resources, the requisite resources to fly over. He has the resources to go around, by way of probably Ivory Coast and stuff like that, going to Taboo and enter into Harper. He can do all of that. He is sitting on a large pile of resources, stolen money from the Liberian people's coffers. So he can do all of those and then some. So it is up to the opposition now to hold their feet to the fire, because already we're seeing that the playing field is not level. Why is it that the opposition is not able to go to the Southeast? Some of them have already abandoned the Southeast, like I mentioned, but some in the opposition would like to go to the Southeast, but they cannot go to the Southeast because the Southeast is very impossible. So you are absolutely correct. So said Nimba County, so if Prince Johnson's factor, again in Nimba County, where, he might lose significant votes in Nimba County, but then he can make that up for places like Grand Jada, Sino County, and Maryland County. So that's what he can do. And so that is a problem for the opposition. And when you look at what happened in Montserrado County, George Weah still has a significant amount of vote needed to be, to take the lead as he has done in previous elections. So this is not a done deal by any means. And so the opposition has to be very careful in terms of how they are calculating George Weah's strength, because you have a country where there are no official polls. Right now, there's no independent polls. There are no pollsters out there, taking the pulse of the voters. So they are underestimating George Weah. I mean, look, how many times on this show we've lambasted Mr. Weah for all of the things, and the opposition is not taking advantage. How many times any of the opposition leaders, Dennis, besides Tiawan Gongo, that have come on your show, or Mr. Cummings has, how many of the other top tier have come on your show to discuss their platform? They rather go to other shows that's going to ask the softball questions and all these different things.
Thank you. So let me ask you, Mr. Collison, Vice President Joe Howard Taylor, in a strategic move that's reported by the Observer, aimed at garnering support for her and President George Weah's re-election, has donated 1.5 million, that is 8,000 United States dollars, to 3 women groups in Bonn. That's the story reported, and people are looking at it that she's buying vote. In fact, where's the money coming from? She didn't do this all alone. What's your take?
Howard Taylor has been living into the coffers of unmerited wealth. As I said, Madam Howard Taylor has been living into the coffers of unmerited wealth, not only under the CDC government, but also at the time of her ex-husband leadership. So she has, I would say, enough money to give to any other women group. But the question we ask ourselves is that why must Liberian politicians always seek the interest of the downtrodden only when they want political power to retain or to have it? These women groups have always had the issues, the programs, the projects, the concerns, the objectives, the mission, the goals. One day, Madam Howard Taylor decided that, okay, I will give them expertise to help them reach out to other women activities that I am a woman. Said I can't do it on my own with my platform. I'm in a high office. Then another group do it. I will sponsor the group. Never. How that does not happen. So is she doing it because she really believes in the cause of the women? I doubt it. I'm more likely leaning the fact that she did it because of political reasons. And the Liberian people have seen it all. I think the Liberian people have been tested, and they said a clarion call during the by-elections in Montserrat County to the CDC when Senator Dillon was elected into office.
That was how long ago? Times have changed. Why you keep referencing that?
That have not changed. That have changed, yes, to the worst. To the worst. The economic challenges and difficulties that we are going through from the time they long got elected and now cannot be compared to anything else. When you talk to relatives and friends back home, they tell you that we are going to vote with anger. That's the very phrase they use. We are voting with anger. So we'll wait to see how does that amalgamate into the results that the opposition are praying for. When Madam Taylor gave of the $1 million, the $8,000 equivalent, it's little too late.
Thank you.
She as a woman, knowing all of the issues that women have before, don't get babies are raped. Madam Taylor doesn't take an issue up with the government in power. She's a lawyer by profession. You don't hear her being pro bono lawyers to go and make the case for girls that have been raped. Girls have been killed. You don't hear her do nothing. For rather to come up with $8,000 around election season. For what reason? Is that the only time you want to show yourself? At what point in time was Harold Taylor taking a social justice issue for concern? The husband was the West rebel leader in the West Coast. You benefited from the sport of the war. You didn't do nothing. You come on a failing government CDC. They have done all of the things. You have done nothing. Election time, you want to go show your cause.
Thank you.
It's never too late, Madam Taylor.
I'm coming to you, Mr. Blambo. Madam Taylor once said when Collison raised a very important point that Madam Taylor once blamed mothers whose children were being raped. Say you're not taking care of your children, that's why. So don't you think, and we should also remember that not because two things happen side by side establish any correlation. But during this election time, 8,000 to 3 women group. What does that smell to you, Mr. Blambo?
Well, first of all, I would like to make a statement against some of the generalizations that I'm hearing here. You know, we got people saying that you have to walk. That's the only way you can show commitment. You got people saying that George Weah has no interest in facing the role. Are the people God they discuss with George Weah, or you just make these conclusions? And we got people saying that and the exchange of money is an automatic bribery. We don't know how much money they're talking about. And the notion that George Weah cannot win election is false. And this election is in the hands of CDC to win or lose. Anybody can win. My prayer is that at the end, we become nationalists and Liberia win. With reference to the vice president giving 8,000, I believe and know the vice president has sponsored a lot of people. I know that the horror stories about her, but there are also good stories about her. So I'm not surprised that she gave 8,000. And it's a political season. If she has 8,000 to give, she will give. Cummings gets more than $8,000 every day. So people giving $8,000 is, in my view, is not a major concern unless you're saying she stole the $8,000. But she's putting her money behind what she believes. So I commend her for giving 8,000.
Mr. Mame, without establishing any fact that this 8,000 is stolen money, no problem, right?
Go ahead. That's my turn.
Yeah.
I wanted to pick up. Yeah, you want to give your people 8,000, the vice president, she can raise that money and give it. I don't have, any major problem with that. That's the vice president of the country. She able to take 8,000 from her income and decide to help her people. But here's the thing, to my brother point, what has changed? A whole lot has changed. after the Dillon election, we experienced a major drug bust in our country. President made no comment. The drugs law walked through our justice system. They fled. But let us agree they were not guilty. In leadership, it comes with responsibility. As part of that responsibility, empathy, concern, and action are important. A major drug bust, the president made no comment. He said nothing. To the young people that the drugs destroying are the people on whose back he became president. Their sweat and their blood, he became president. He promised that he would create jobs for them. But instead of creating jobs, his immigration policies, the lack of security allowed $1 million drugs and $100 million drugs into the country. But prior than that, several were happening. So yes, things have changed for the worse. We don't have drugs in the country destroying young people, push. Things have changed. The Western Cluster Mineral Development Agreement was placed aside for a memorandum of understanding. And 13.5 million of the people in the Western region lost because of that MOU. Things have changed. There was a mineral development agreement that committed the company to pay in the money. They signed an MOU and waived 13.5 million. Yes, things have changed. There have been major passport scandals with our passport in the hands of drug lords, of money launderers. Since the Dillon's election, things have changed for the worse. Go to football. The best thing that we are knowing in life. After the Dillon election, we failed to qualify for the African Cup of Nations. We failed to qualify for the World Cup. In the entire Mana River Basin, Liberia is the only country that did not qualify for AFCON.
Mr. Mame, let me interrupt you quickly. The disintegration of the CPP, is it one of those things that have changed?
Come again?
The disintegration of CPP 1.0, should that be one of those things that changed for the worse, that will make that may invalidate what Dillon did, that it cannot be repeated now?
So the CPP was just a vehicle for the people to transmit their anger of the failure of the government. The CPP was not a cause for CDC losing the election. The CPP was just a vehicle the people used to communicate their disappointment. So yes, the CPP can disintegrate, but the underlying factors that the people feel and they want to communicate stay existing and even getting worse. And I highlighted all those things that have changed over the period of time, and I know it will even get worse when the results begin to show up. So yeah, Joel can give the money, that's fine.
Thank you. Mohammed.
Yes.
And we're talking about the money Joel, Mrs. Taylor has given. Is it vote buying or fair game?
Well, it's not fair game. I mean, you know that. We all know. They have what the CDC has, what George Ware and his people have. They have large sums of money. I mean, money, millions and millions of dollars. The top tier in that administration, guys who are poor, guys who couldn't pay their rent, or get good pair of shoes for themselves or clothes for themselves, are now millionaires. So Mrs. Howard Taylor, as Collison just said, Mrs. Howard Taylor has been around for a long time. She's been in several administrations from her husband till this time, but especially at this time, the money that goes around now, I don't think this amount of abuse of resources, I can't remember in recent history this amount of money that's going around. So this is not fair game. The opposition cannot do the same because they don't have the same amount of resources at their disposal. So of course, Mrs. Howard Taylor can go out there and give out thousands and thousands of dollars. to women's groups, and who knows, the next time around she's going to go to some youth group and expand equal or more amount of money. So this is not a level playing field already. If you're going to count the resources, this is still in the favor of the ruling party that have everything at their disposal. Keep in mind, Dennis, this is not the first time they've done this. George Weah started this 2 years ago or more, perhaps, when the chiefs were given motor vehicles and stuff like that. That was for a purpose, and this is the time now that he's going to go around and remind these chiefs that, look, I gave you these motorbikes and cars for a reason. This is the time. So they're going to use a lot of money to try to win this election. And when they cannot do that, they have other means to win this election. By fraudulent means, we've had trouble. We've had a troubled history as a nation state with the ruling party using fraudulent methods to win elections. So George Weah has all of those at his disposal. So this is just the first part of a long list of strategies that the CDC government is using to win this election.
Thank you. Mr. Gaiman. The current government controls the national coffers. So especially in the absence of any campaign finance or people being transparent, people begin to suspect that money like that is probably stolen money.
Well,
on suspicion.
You see, the reason why I don't like to debate with most of the folks on this platform is because they have no practical experience. They have no facts. I would give you practical experience. 2008, I worked as a campaign manager for the South region for the Barack Obama re-election. Do you know how much money was pumped into South Florida? We fed people. We paid people to go door to door. We paid people to phone bank. We transported people. We paid bills. If you call that, if you don't call that vote buying, then that's fine with you. If I'm the president, like the young man was saying, he said we are motorbikers. We were promised $9,000 to buy gas. That was the budget. And we didn't get the money. That is not vote buying. That is a budget that was budgeted for a group or constituent that didn't get their money, said they demanded the money. That is not vote buying. Mr. Mame talked earlier, and the reason I don't like to debate Mr. Mame is because everything he says has a twist to it that is so fraudulent. First of all, he's talking about Dillon. Dillon ran in Montserrat County, and he lost. He ran as an independent and / Liberty Party. He lost massively. Dillon won when they amalgamated all the forces of the opposition. That's Unity Party, Liberty Party, ALP, ANC, you name it. Not only did they come together, but their resources that Cummings put into this, that Dillon, Musa Ability put into this, that Uri put into this. If this man going to sit on this platform to say that Dillon won, then I have issue with him. Now let's go to the votes. Dillon, with all the 7 political parties behind him, had a little over 200,000 votes. Thomas Fala, for CDC alone, had 121,000 votes. That one party against 7. So if you took out the Liberty Party, Unity Party, ANC, and everybody else, Mame will tell you that Dillon cannot win any election on his own in Montserrat.
I will interrupt you. Yes. Purposely to tell you that CDC was now a single political party. CDC was an alliance of NPP, LPP, and Free Johnson political party. It was not a single political party.
Listen to this. You said.
No, take that correction. It was not a single political party.
Dillon won absence of those facts, I'm telling you what it is. So Thomas Fowler brought in 127,000 votes. Your man brought in about 200,000, over 200,000 votes. So when you talk about the combination of those forces and their money and their wealth, okay, you cannot sit on this platform and tell me that Dillon can win on his own. But let me
CDC was not alone.
Excuse me. Let me go to this.
Mr. Gaiman, before you go there, you spoke about that here people buy votes, or if you call it vote buying. Do you care to know where the money that Mrs. Taylor is using, where that money is coming from?
Oh, but listen, everybody knows Mrs. Taylor has a budget. I think Mr. The late Bronskin said it, that the budget for the vice president, Joseph Boakai, at the time was about $2.5 million, something around that area. That is the budget of the vice president that can be used.
And you think that includes charity?
Oh yes, because remember, under Joseph Boakai, he was in charge of the group of 77. That's charity work. You remember that? The group of 77. That's charity
the money will be for the group of 77 and not some women's group, right?
Oh, but listen, that money can be spent. They may have some budget. They have a line item. If you have ever done budget, you will have a line item that is there for order of miscellaneous. Those money can be spent anywhere you choose you want to spend them. So the vice president, being a woman of wealth, we know she got personal wealth. She has a government. She has what in America we call the bully pulpit. They are in charge. They can swing. They can swing money around. They can move money around, and those are legal. Now let's talk about the votes here.
Yeah, for 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, real quick. When we're talking about winning, I think Mohammed said it best. We have registered. I think 2.2 million people registered to vote. If 80%, which is the highest amount, if we 80% turnout, we will have about 1.8 million people that will vote. Okay, out of the 8 million people, if George Weah has 900,000 plus one, he wins on the first ballot. It's just simple math. That is, if the turnout is at the maximum 80%, which is unheard of.
You say 8 million? You say 8 million people?
No, I said we have 2.4 million people, I think, registered to vote. If 80% of that showed up, it would be like 1.8 million. Okay? Out of the 1.8 million, if Joe Weah has 900,000 plus one, he wins it on the first ballot. In the vote reach Monserrado, we got about 900,000 people voted to register to vote. If Joe Weah got 40%.
Thank you, Gamer. You talk for 6 minutes now.
Okay, go ahead.
let me go to Mr. Eastman. Mr. Eastman, Mr. Gayman, he said, he always say Republican, but every time he talks, he says he's running a campaign for Democrats. So I don't know how he does that, but that's another story. He said, well, there is money available. The vice president is in her budget, so she can give 8,000. That is perfectly fine. Do you buy that?
Dennis, let's be practical here. Bribing is well known in third world countries. In all of Asia, including India and the Philippines, you name it. Wherever there is poverty, wherever the people are deprived of resources, bribing is very fashionable. It is done at all times. Look at our democracy. It's a relatively young democracy. We just started multi-partyism not more than 25 years ago, if you check it. All right. So, and what is the condition of the people? Our people don't have jobs. Our people are struggling to make ends meet. Of course, politicians will employ any means they can to win. That has always been the nature of politics. Any means, lying, promises, all kinds of techniques are used to convince people, yeah, vote for me and I'll set you free. So we shouldn't be surprised that cash donations are being handed out at this time. But what we need to know, how we need to influence people is that Are you going to vote for a politician, or are you going to vote for yourself? People need to realize whatever they're doing, this vote they're giving is directly going to affect them for the next 6 years. So whether they dole out the money, which is common, they must realize that decision when they get to that booth, it is their future that they are voting on. They're not voting on the $20 or the $30 or all that was given. It's their future for the next 6 years. That is how we're supposed to be educating our people. And to tell you the truth, I heard a convincing argument the other day that the CDC could have done more had it not been for COVID. That is a argument. That is a substantial argument. We know that there was a downturn in the economic affairs of the world. We know that the COVID did affect the economic activity in the world. In as much as they were able to absorb that, can they do more? So that is how I believe it's not the money that's going to convince voters to vote for the ruling party. It is that argument that we could do more had these things not occurred. So at the end of the day, we shouldn't be surprised, because this is common, especially among impoverished nations. But what we should be doing, as people of concerned citizens, let the people know that they are voting for the next 6 years of their livelihood. And if they vote wrong, that's just how they will be affected.
Thank you. That takes us to Mr. Joseph Newman Boakai. Let me ask Mr. Collison, who's a supporter of Boakai, because I'm asking you based on what was happening before the campaign started. You heard that the people were saying, "Oh, let the old man go to Foya and sit down, we'll run the campaign." And people said that was some dog ways, or hey, he will be maybe incapacitated at that time to run campaign, so they are letting him to sit down. So there were a lot of doubts as to his fitness during the campaign season. How is he doing?
Well, he's doing mighty great, and thank God for his providence and destiny over his life. And I sat on your show, even though I had some intermission on the last time when his casket was being paraded on the confines of the CDC. And for all information, it brought a serious pandemonium among the leadership because it was orchestrated by Lance Eugene Nangbe.
The casket?
No. I'm not afraid to say who orchestrated that casket of GMB. So, looking at what they did, at the time he was still sitting in New Jersey, waiting on his flight to go to Liberia. His casket was being paraded on the confines of the CDC. From that time to now, the Liberian people are a living testimony. I'm not saying us who are the pundits, surrogating him, Mr. Gaiman doesn't let himself describe as such. But the Liberian people are seeing a vibrant president, a vibrant person waiting to walk into the executive mansion come 2024 as the next president. Does he have other issues because of his age? Obviously. If man dad was to stay alive, he would be of the age of JMB. Will I expect to be as healthy as he was at the time I was in my teens and 20s? No. We all sitting on this platform. When we turn, if God gave us his destiny, his providence, to become the age of JMB, we will not be so proactive and so athletic as now. With age comes other defects. But one thing I can tell you, that this soon-to-be president-elect, he's mentally alert. He may not run a 20-yard marathon.
Is he actually in the forefront, or is he taking a backseat?
He is. Okay. He is in the forefront. He is in the forefront. Who was in the forefront in West Point? You saw the video. Who was in the forefront in Yucatan? You saw the video. Who was in the forefront when he came from Ghana? It was everyone told. You saw the video. I don't need to tell you. Was he walking with being a sister in a wheelchair? Being hooked up left and right? Walk? No. So the best we can do as Liberians is to wish him well. Wish his family well. Because the road of old age is begotten unto every one of us who providence will guide us to reach that destiny that time.
Thank you. Jimmy, has Mr. Boakai shamed the devils?
Like how?
Like people who doubted that he was not going to be on the campaign trail. They
Okay.
asked him, yeah, so has he proved them wrong?
He's got more running to do. We still got a couple of weeks. But Mr. Boakai has people behind. I believe the campaign of Mr. Boakai has been more.
He's not wrong. Yes or no? You tell them yourself, Jimmy. Answer the question. Has he been not wrong? Who know you got more campaign to go to?
Hold on.
Answer the question, Jimmy.
I was just about to answer, Collison. Maybe not the way you want to hear me. I see Boakai machinery. It's the people behind him I see campaigning more than him. He has the UP party has organized such a campaign that Oban Boakai could sit down in the house and they would go all around campaigning for him. So that is important because the people who going out there are the ones who are convincing other people. And he's done this very well because he made sure that he has a group that support him 100%. And how did he come about doing that? Well, first of all, he made sure he eliminated good competition, dragged some of them in court, pushed some of them away, fooled some of them. So he has been showing a lot of ability in politics of getting rid of his enemies, inviting people, and then leaving them. And he is a seasoned politician. Okay, now he doesn't need to go around as much. He just needs to make sure that the people who he has put in place now will do his bidding, and the Liberian people, they will have to figure out for themselves who are they voting for. Are they voting for the man Dillon, who's campaigning for him, Yombly, who is campaigning for him, or Prince Johnson, who are they campaigning for? Or are they voting for President Kuhn, who is also standing by, ready to take up his duties? This is what the Liberian people are gonna. But I think he has been very strategic as a politician, and he's using his machinery that he's put together now to get his message out. So he doesn't have to be around.
Thank you,
I will come back on the very show after the 10th of October, and I will debunk, and I will refute, and I will bring it to judgment on the very thing you're making. It's on record, Janet. Keep the recording.
Let me go to Mr. Blamo.
What is on record? That I say he's using a good machinery.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I'm not looking for job, Collison. I'm a retired.
Mr. Blamo.
That's fine.
Mr. Blamo, the CDC, wherever President Weah goes, it's all about Boakai. I mean, you say this man is weak, he's sick, he's all that, but most of the time it appears to me that President Weah fear him the most. What do you make of that?
I believe that Joe Boakai, the campaign to make Joe Boakai a president has gained a lot of momentum. He is a true contender. And to me, it's not important whether Joe Boakai goes to every place or we see him running a race. He's an old man, and that carries its own respect, and it's attractive to some people because they see stability in his old age. That is why they are bringing him out of retirement to save the country from itself. But what Mr. Eastman said is something we need to take into consideration. Whether who are we voting for? Because no matter how good Joe Boakai is, and the age issue is a reality. And then we have these tips coming from Prince Johnson and other people who are gearing up to assist him in major ways. And we know, as the speaker before the last said, that he is an old man. So age is increasing. And the entire campaign is based on a Messiah syndrome. That's my problem. You know, I think it's self-deceit when Liberians believe that some God Messiah will come and save us from ourselves. But at the end of the day, it's left up with the voters to decide. I believe that the future of this country belongs to the youth. And the older people should be like a backup and advisor to push the youth forward. When we continue to marginalize the youth, we always have problems. In Freetown, the reason that war stayed so long, because the youth felt marginalized. And they came to fight for their rights. In Liberia, we got child soldiers. There were young people again coming up. And we still have the massive youth problem in Liberia. So when we continue to go back to our past for leadership, we are marginalizing the youth. In Africa today, the youth is making up an increasing number of the population. Our task is to empower these young people. So I am personally not in favor of asking Uncle Joe to come back to be president, but the Liberian people have a decision to make, as my brother Eastman said. And at the end of the day, that decision will be made. But I will not quarrel the man's age, or neither quarrel the fact whether he can run from here to Waterside to Broad Street, because that's not a factor. In fact, in some cases, the people take that as a plus. They want stability. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif.
Yes, Dennis.
What do you make of Uncle Joe on the campaign trail?
Yeah, so I'm getting feedback.
It's fine now.
So, you know, Mr. Blamo said, you know, mentioned something about youth. And I just want to probably correct the fact that the war in Sierra Leone, if that's what he's referring to as a war in Freetown, was carried on by Charles Taylor. So, you know, Fode Sanko was a figurehead. So once Fode Sanko was arrested, that war ended pretty quickly because Charles Taylor figurehead was done now. So, you know, it wasn't because of the youth marginalization or what have you. When we talk about the youth, so is George Weah the embodiment of that youth movement we're talking about? So if George Weah,
I will point of correction. Point of correction. We all know Charles Taylor took the war to Freetown, but that war was fed by the youth. So that's not the point I'm making.
They were merely conscripted. Let Mohammed continue.
So Charles Taylor conscripted, Charles Taylor and Fode Sanko conscripted these young people, drugged them. Most of the youth, young people, teenagers, preteens that took up arms for the RUF didn't know what they were doing. They were drugged. They were heavily drugged by the RUF with the acquiescence in support of Charles Taylor. They were the instruments. But Charles Taylor was the instrument behind that war. But we're not talking about Sierra Leone tonight. We're talking about Liberia. We're talking about the Liberian election. So when we talk about the youth vote, you know, the youth movement, you know, George Weah is not a good representation of the kind of youth movement that's going to lead a social revolution, an ideological revolution to change the country for the better. George Weah is the worst example of the youth movement that we're talking about, right? So George Weah has sat around, and the roads leading to his hometown is rotten. It's a muddy mess. Okay, I know that for a fact because it's out there. People can't travel now from Ganta to Monroe, from Ganta to Zwedru without spending days on the road under the leadership of this youthful president. So just to be a youth, call yourself a youth, and you're not doing anything in the interest of the youth, you're not a representation of that youthful population. So forget George Weah. Forget George Howard Taylor. George Howard Taylor, to me, is a thief. These people are thieves. They're robbing the Liberian people of their hard-earned
I
money.
don't know why you're allowing the man to cost these people couple teeth.
They're sitting around.
Where the man come from?
The president of the Republic of Liberia is a thief. The vice president is a thief.
Don't use the platform to insult people.
These are thieves.
Hold on, Mr. Blambo. Let him give his opinion.
They are stealing the Liberian people's hard-earned resources, tax dollars, and putting them in their pockets. Millions of dollars. These people were broke. By his own admission, George Weah was a broke man when he took the presidency. Look at where he is now. He is a multi-millionaire. He's one of the richest men in West Africa. How can we allow that to happen in a country and we're not holding him accountable? We need to hold people accountable. Liberia is a mess right now. The country, you walk, you see Monrovia, you compare Monrovia to other West African capital. You're ashamed of Monrovia. One diplomat said it. I was ashamed. It wasn't for that diplomat to say it. It wasn't for a white man to come from Europe to tell us what our capital city looked like, at the time when he said it. But it is true. What's going on under their very noses, under the nose of George Weah, under the nose of George Howard Taylor. What good is it for you to be a wealthy man and your country is a mess, and you call yourself a young man or you call yourself a young woman? You are a mess.
But when you finish insulting,
Mohammed,
when you finish insults,
this is
I would
the
like to say
people's
something.
choice. Mohammed,
Yeah.
that's why we're asking you what Boakai is doing. This
That
is
man
the
is
people's
wounded.
choice.
Jimmy, I understand.
Thank you.
He's a wounded politician trying to insult people on the show.
Jimmy, I understand, and I hear you. It's what have I been saying on this show the whole time? I've always said
Cursing. That's what you've been doing.
Excuse me.
Hold on, Mr. Blambo. Mr. Sherry, you have 15 seconds to conclude. Let me go to Mame.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Jimmy, you're right. It's the people's choice. I agree with you, Jimmy, 100%. I have no qualms with that. But this is what I said. George Weah looks like a lot of the people. He thinks like a lot of the voters in Liberia. And this is a challenge that the opposition has. How do you change the mentality of those people that think like George Weah, that see things like George Weah, that probably perceive the world, their worldview is congruent with George Weah's worldview, however limited.
I would like to make a point of correction to all these insults.
We have a president, George Weah.
Thank you.
So that's the point.
You have 15 seconds over. Let me go to Mame.
Few corrections. CDC,
Mr. Mame.
Yes, few corrections. When Senator Dillon defeated CDC, CDC was not the only candidate. CDC was a coalition of political parties that included MPP, LPDP, NDR, MOVI, and I think 4 other political parties endorsed Thomas Fowler as part of the alliance to go against the CPP. NDR is not an insignificant party in Montserrado County. NDR came 5th place, defeating Ure, defeating Simeon Fremont, defeating Mills Jones, and all the other candidates in Montserrado County. So NDR is not an ordinary party, not only Nima.
Answer the question, man.
Give him a chance. Let him use his 3 minutes.
So it's not the only Nima party. They came 5th place in Monserrado. But the people defeated CDC. They only used the law and the CPP as a vehicle to express their displeasure. So I just wanted to make that clarification. Youth, who can you talk about youth? For us, from the Liberian People Party, we don't see the election between young people and old people. It is an ideological campaign. It is an ideological election we see. It's an election between those who see government as a place to steal versus those who see government as a place to serve. There are old people who see government as a place to steal. There are young people who see government as a place to steal. So being old, being young doesn't qualify or disqualify you. So we from the Liberian People Party, we don't see the election as an age factor. We see it as an ideological factor, and that ideological factor is who see government as a place to serve versus who see government as a place to steal. We are and his people have demonstrated with countless records that the blind can see that they see government as a place to steal. They came here with nothing. In less than 6 months or 1 year, they have all the horses in the town. Weah has built more horses for himself than he has built school for the entire country. They came to steal. They did not come to serve. And that's why they must leave. So the question about Joseph Boakai, like I said, I will conclude. We don't follow the crowd with pushing him on the age factor because we realize that it is working in his favor. It is not working against him. The crowd you see coming all the time to Joseph Boakai's rally are people who want to see him because people say he's sick, he in wheelchair, he coming die. So they run there to go convince themselves. United Party posting last picture of him, they're not convinced. Some of them are on the fence, they don't want to vote for Joseph Boakai. But because there is this perception, oh, there men walking, there men coming to die, he get battery. So they rush to the rally to see him. So it's working in his favor. So each time they go to the rally and they see him, oh, but they put lie on the man. It creates admiration for him. We're not following them. We are telling them whether he old, whether he got battery, whether he in wheelchair, he's not as competent and qualified to solve the country's problem. The country problem is corruption. The person most qualified and competent to solve it is Councillor Gong. That is our point. And that's how we campaign on.
Thank you. Let me go to Gayman. We planted Mr. Blambo. Mr. Gayman, most of the time we don't see much love for Mr. Boakai from you. Let's see what's going to change tonight.
Joseph Boakai, to be honest with you, I think I would like to quote Mr. Mohammed, who says, Africa is the only continent where a 90-year-old man will live, even in a wheelchair, will lift his hand and say, I am the future. Joseph Boakai is all the young people that Mohammed, because don't mind Mohammed is a United Partisan. He worked in the alien government. He worked for one of the most corrupt government. In fact, he worked directly for Rabah Salif at Nokar when Nokar went bankrupt. And he left. Just like Joseph Boakai, when something goes wrong, he said he's not part of it. When it goes right, he said he's part of it. Now he's with Gonglo. Now he talked about government is not a place to go and steal, it's a place to go and serve. Where was he when Rabah Salif was bankrupting our country? Joseph Boakai is an octogenarian. He is old. And this man cannot sit up for 1 minute without sleeping, falling to sleep. And you are telling me that we should put our nation's economy, our nation's security in the hands of a man who cannot be attentive for 1 minute? He slept at a funeral. When he's walking at these campaign rallies, they walk very close to him just in case he slips and falls. Is this our future? In the mermaids of the world and the colosseums of the world, I want to defer the future.
A point of interjection.
Hold on, Mr.
Excuse me.
Collison.
If the mermaids of the world, the colosseums of the world are willing to defer their future to a 90-year-old man, say he is the future, then it is their prerogative. But as far
A point of interjection.
Hold on, Mr.
A point of
Collison.
interjection.
Hold on, Mr. Collison. Let him finish.
I'm done.
Go ahead, Gay Man.
No, I mean, I yield to Mr. Collison. Go ahead.
I said earlier that the age of Mr. Boakai is by providence. And we should be grateful to have a senior in our community, in our society, who understands the workings of government, wants to bring back a better country.
Mr. Collison, point of correction. Bring back.
Mr. Gayman, that's why I want
to listen, Mr. Collison, I give you 1 second of my time. Go ahead.
You tell me you back. You tell me you back. You say 1 second.
You say a point of correction. You say a point of correction.
To compare him to a youthful president who on a youthful eyes said that Liberians should buy camera for their own security. He can provide for them. A youthful president who sees drugs being proliferated, being a watch in our society, killing our youth and does nothing. I wonder why. To our youthful president who sees the entire social fabric of our country, families, girls being raped, and does nothing. I wonder then why.
Mr. Collison, Mr. Collison. No, Mr. Collison, I give you 1 minute of time. Listen to
the Mr. Collins, the president who got no solution to offer to our country. Mr. Weir is completely ignorant. He and Mr. Blamo doesn't look yet that his XRD, but he honestly know nothing about the affairs of government, about the authority of man. That's why the country is doing the way it's going. So we are about to rescue our country.
I forgive you for insulting the president.
Thank you. You didn't forgive Gayman for insulting Boakai, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Let me make my point. Let
Gayman finish his point.
Okay.
Mr. Collison, I know there you go. He not run away again. When we're talking about proliferation of drug in the United States,
you got
when you
let's say in Liberia,
no. I want you to see this, because when you look at the cities of Philadelphia, where Kush people are walking like zombies, where they have billions of dollars to fight this. He's talking about Joseph Boakai wants to bring back good governance. The man was vice president for 12 years. He been in government for 60 years. He lived off government. He's on welfare. He lived off the sweat of the government. Even in his late age, he still wants to be living on the sweat of the Liberian people. My friend, Joseph Boakai is a threat to national security.
Thank you. Mr. Blamo, you didn't correct him. He said Boakai been working for 60 years. Is that true?
I already gave my position. I gave my position on the age. I believe that the future belongs to the young people. I was mistakenly misquoted as saying that the best young person is George Weah. I will say on the show, I have a high respect for Gonglo. But the future belongs to the young people. Personally, if I would not cast a vote for Uncle Joe, because I believe that he has played his part, and retirement is okay and honorable.
Thank you.
Those people who believe that the older people, Cummings and Boakai, they are the presidency is their birthright, and the only people that can save the nation, it will be decided at the ballot box.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Blamo. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate. We are talking and debating current political issues. Because of time, we're going to take one last issue, and that issue is the Alexander Cummings' campaign team, or the CPP campaign team. Some time ago, when Mr. Cummings announced Team Cummings, he has some people, and so we raised the issue. Does they look like campaign team? And they try to say, oh no, this is not a campaign team, it's something. Now we have the campaign team, and it looks very much like the Cummings team Cummings. Also, what we noticed on the campaign team, we have at the top of the campaign, Toga McIntosh Gateway, NPFL, Louis Gasseder Brown, NPFL, Judy Wisner, Dan Morias, NPFL, Jonathan Boakai Sibwe, Madame Julia Cassell, Madame Mariam D. Sondega, and another NPFL, Daniel Chie. What is Cummings doing with all these NPFL people? I sometimes wonder, right? And two, Ava, Mr. Isaac Vatogba, who was fired, and I took issue with Mr. Cummings when he fired Ava Vatogba, when Ava co-authored a book which he quoted President Weah at the time he was not president. Women got together, and I thought Mr. Cummings was scared, and then he fired Ava. Now, Mr. Ava Vatogba is back in the campaign team, has probably elevated as a policy guy. Was Mr. Cummings, did he take a rash decision that he's now trying to correct, or what is he up to? Let me start with Mame. Mr. Mame, how you look at this? I don't know if you share the same sentiments as me, that people are, sometimes I get triggered by these NPFL guys. Maybe it's personal, right? But we most of the time talk about Prince Johnson and Prince Johnson and Prince Johnson. Who's talking about Daniel Chie? Who's talking about Louis Brown? Who's talking about Dan Moriah? Who's talking about Toga McIntosh Gateway? What do you make of this campaign team? And what do you make of Mr. Cummings' decision to fire and bring back Mr. Isaac Vatogba?
But you even talking about even more reckless killers, like what his name? The guy who contesting in Nima County on CDC's ticket.
Morales.
Huh?
Udolo?
Morales.
No, you're talking about CDC.
No, not Dolo. But anyway, the CDC senatorial candidate in Nima County. Roland Duo, former reckless general, killer, mass murderer. But the point I want to send through is this. You got to be honest when you talk politics in Liberia. I will not beat Kumi a lot because he got NPFL people behind him. When you want to engage into politics in Liberia, there's absolutely no way you can easily or successfully rally support, engage the process without some form of support from people who came from Taylor towards Ellen and now we are. That's the reality we have to face as a country. Those are the people who led the country up to this point. You can successfully run a campaign by excluding all of them. It'll be difficult for you. It's a tough ride. It's a moral decision to take, to exclude all of them, but it's not a political decision to take. I wouldn't beat Kumi on it a whole lot. And I wouldn't want other people beating on other people a whole lot. Daniel Chie has even shifted towards the CDC. I think he declared support for CDC.
Right. So there's a correction of Victor Namus of the CPP saying Daniel Chie is not of the CPP campaign. He gave a Pepe ever since, right?
Yeah, he gave a Pepe ever since. He gave money for a fan, so he gave it. So what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't want to beat on these people a whole lot for that reason. I want to look at the head. Everything starts from the head.
Yeah, Mr. Cummings told us doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So people try to hold him accountable on that front. But conclude your thoughts.
Yeah, but using the same people to do different things is different from doing the same thing over and over.
That's clever.
You can use the same people over and over to do different things. You don't have to use them to do the same thing. So,
but anytime the thing is in your favor, that's different, right?
Come again.
If the thing is in your favor, then that's different thing.
That's correct.
I don't understand that, but let me learn.
You pretend not to understand it, or you really don't understand. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't want to beat on Cummings or any other person, What I want to do is I want to look at the head. What values stand for? Principles stand for. Their plan to transform the country. How committed how committed are they to change the country, and what track record we can show to those commitments. That's what I want to start on. But if you just say, okay, this man is a good man, if Daniel Chia goes today and declares support for George Weah, we're accepting. If he goes to Boakai, we're accepting. I'm sure if he comes to Gonglo, we're accepting. But he coming to Gonglo knowing that Gonglo is prepared to establish the War in Economic Crimes Court.
Yeah, that's a different argument, but thank you. Because Ms. Jimmy.
Yes, I like that question. I'm glad you came to me right away. You know, people have the opinion that Liberians in general are, you know, if you encounter a Liberian who's not educated and who you saw as a warlord or something like that, you would think Liberians are uneducated. No. By somebody associating with a political group or warring faction, that doesn't necessarily make them bad. I know Togamash McIntosh personally. I know when he was first as a young man assigned to the ECA, the Economic Commission of Africa. He's a brilliant man. Honestly, he's a brilliant man.
Charles Taylor is brilliant.
I don't know about Charles Taylor. I'm telling you about Togamash. Okay,
Jimmy.
Yeah,
excuse me.
He's talking about he's brilliant. That's what I'm saying. Taylor
He's a brilliant man. What I'm trying to say is these people have the acumen to help government move forward. They have the experience. They have the knowledge. I remember one time when I wanted to go into ECA, I said, my man, you need to go at least get a master's. This was years ago. And he was right, of course. So these people that have been involved with other groups, it's not surprising that they will matriculate to another group as...
These are not other groups. These were killing machines.
I agree with you. The NPFL, the IMPFL, all of these groups have been accused of atrocities. But were these people directly involved in those atrocities, or were they caught up in the fray? Sometimes you're just caught up wherever you were, wherever they found you. Okay, you will just try to survive.
Those news are powerhouses, man. Jimmy.
Hold on, Rashford. Dan Marai was accused of atrocities, as mentioned in the TRC.
Yeah, now if somebody's accused of atrocity, that's a whole different matter. But if somebody who only bringing their knowledge and experience, Kim Johnson took over the LEC and the Port Authority. We were caught up. All they wanted us to do is put the light back on, and that's the only way we use it now. Never held gun, they never did anything like that with the warring factions. But your expertise will always be called upon by different groups.
Thank you.
Now, so I wouldn't fault Cummings for taking people who have the requisite expertise and experience to help his administration. That is, we're a small country.
Right.
Okay, a lot of people have run away.
Why are they faulting Joseph Boakai for taking Prince Johnson then?
Very well. You see, now I want to tell you, I know I told you we fell with Prince Johnson, and I know personally experience with that whole group, and I can tell you the fault that they blaming Boakai for is that his people used to condemn this, and now you're seeing condemnation. You're telling us that you're not, your integrity it comes into question. How can you condemn somebody one day and all of a sudden you're in bed with the person? That is where the problem is.
Thank you. That's what all of them do, and that's why Cummings is being criticized also. Let me go to Mohammed before I come to you, Blambo.
Yeah. So, Dennis, these people were not small potatoes. They were strategic planners in the MPFL. So. If you look at some of these people that we're talking about now, they actually walked towards Charles Taylor to be selected in that outfit. You heard Louis Brown said to you the other time when he appeared on this show that while he walked to Buchanan, he saw the massacres committed by the MPFL on his way to Buchanan. When asked if he indeed asked Charles Taylor about those massacres, since in fact he's a very educated man, Louis Brown is, he did not ask Mr. Taylor. He did not protest those killings. I know Louis Brown. I was with Louis Brown at the University of Liberia. So I was, he was my party. He was our party chairman at the University of Liberia. He never raised those
movement.
as a student. What's that?
Student integration movement, esteem.
Yeah, absolutely. He never raised those issues with Mr. Taylor. So that's the problem that I have with a lot of these people. So they were strategic planners in the MPFL. They were not small potatoes. So now bringing those people on by Mr. Cummins is embracing the same politics as usual. So he criticized others for this kind of politics, but now he says to you the other time, you're going to have to build a nation with those who are available. Well, they're not the only people available. There are other people available. There are tens of thousands of Liberians out there that Mr. Cummins can pluck, bring into his campaign. You can't bring people, with questionable characters, individuals who have performed in this way in the destruction of the Liberian nation state. The
Mr.
problem.
Sharif, what do you make of the Ava situation now? Or Archibald Frederick said, please be truthful to the viewer, as if October was never fired by Cummins nor Daniel Chia on the campaign team. Right? If you say Daniel Chia is not on the campaign team, I misspoke. But Ava was actually fired. Go and what do you make of that, Mr. Sharif?
Alva Toba was let go. He came on this platform, and I expressed my indignation for the way he was treated by Mr. Cummins, and he tried to sidestep the issue. And I said, I'm still indignant because of Mr. Cummins' lack of backbone. He did not have the backbone to stand up to the cheering crowd of George Weah, who condemned Alva Toba for publishing a book through interviews that he had with people close to George Weah. Keep in mind, Alva himself was very close to George Weah, probably in the inner circle of George Weah. So he was let go. And now, because that issue has quieted down some, so Mr. Cummins is now bringing him back on board. In the first place, you shouldn't have let him go. What that demonstrated at the time, Dennis, is, and this whole issue demonstrated with the Alva situation, is Mr. Cummins' lack of backbone when it comes to the critical issue. So how are you going to now be the commander-in-chief of the Republic of Liberia? You can't be a commander-in-chief. That's not a disqualifier. But these little things like this, I can pick up on to say, you didn't stand up. If I were Alva Toba, I don't know if I will go re-enter that campaign now, because you didn't stand up for me in my hour of need. You let me go. I don't know if there was a gentleman's agreement behind the scenes to say, my man, just go away so that this thing can calm down. We'll call you back in when things quiet down some. But that's the problem with these politicians. They're all disingenuous politicians. They don't see things the way some of us do. And that is to, at all times, stand up for what is right. Stand up for, your people, even though if it's, it may be unpopular. You should have stood up for Alva Toba. And now, to conclude, bringing all these people on board who have questionable characters that still have a problem, because let's face the fact, Mr. Cummins may not win this election, but what was going to win him some favors is that taking these decisions, right, that we can look back and say, man, he didn't win, but he made some bold moves. He is different. So that if he still won 6 years from now, he can use that as a launch pad. But everybody is doing the same thing. They're picking off, MPFL associates here, there. George Weah started it, and now, Cummins embraced it. And now, Mr. Boakai is doing the same, embracing Prince Johnson. So all of them are playing into this kind of realism, political realism, into what they see as the realistic option of being elected.
Thank you. And let me correct myself here. So the notable appointees were Mr. Louis Brown, who is a national campaign chair, Dr. Toga G. McIntosh as the advisor to the campaign. You have, of course, Louis Brown. You have Aloysius Stowe, Deputy National Campaign Chair, Azif Vaktoba for Policy, and George Wisner, Deputy for Mobilization. Mr. Blamo.
I believe Joe Barker said there are many devils in the bush. And right on our show, we got people who have served Ellen Johnson's lead government. They have worked on Charles Sirleaf, who had been
don't quote Gaiman.
No. So all these people, it just depends on who you're talking to and how they want to interpret things. The man campaign got 800 people on that campaign. It's hard to get 800 people that will have no criticism. So I don't fault him for bringing these people, and I don't have a personal history of any wickedness that these people were involved with. However, with Toba, I believe that he took one for the team. That's why when he came on the show, he bypassed he sidestepped the issue because he took one for the team. So politically, that was a good decision, and he has some values. That's why he was brought back. And personally, my thing with Cummings is he's a nice guy, but I don't believe in the fixer and the visionary leadership, where people say that you bring one man and the man will save the whole country. That does not work. Only in Russia and in China, those things happen. And in a military coup, Cummings has empowerment of Liberians where you put $10 million annually in the economy to empower Liberians in different economic endeavors. Where you will get the approval in the Senate to give $10 million every year, there's no detail on how you will get his money. So that's my only problem with Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Collison.
When I read the news about 800 men on the campaign team, firstly I laughed. I said, "Boy, it seems like Mr. Cummings have exhausted the professional class of people, in Liberia." Looking at the percentage of illiterate in all of percentage. But I want to ask Mr. Cummings a few salient questions. Having served as vice president for Coca-Cola, I guess the book I was sitting on this platform living in the United States. If we were to appear for a job interview, the first thing HR will do when you submit your resume and you are picked for an interview is to run your background check to know whether you have anything that it will impugn your moral, your specialized or whatever character to contribute to the job in the face of the public. That's why we conduct an interview in the United States for a job when we apply. Whether warehousing, hospitality, management, you name the rest of it. So for Mr. Cummings to go in a database of Liberians around the spectrum of the country, home and abroad, and to identify 800, and the permanent of those, if you have to run the background check, it can't even care of flour. It will not pass. I wonder what will happen if he was to become elected as president of the country. However, Louis Brown, Roland Duo, few other people named mentioned, I got a special respect for them. Louis, Big Brother, Universal Laboratories, Interactive Politics, what have you. Roland Duo, I personally taught him in graduate school in LU. In my public administration class, I taught Roland Duo after he came from his rebel days. Smart young man, energetic, very grateful. I must admit, give him to that credit. Sometimes I wonder how with such a man, with such an image, transformed into the academic world. Many days that he sat down under my tutelage, I was wondering, I said, well, is this the same person people talk about? So maybe he bring him to bear on his campaign pool, he can contribute. But in a true sense, I do not expect any Liberian to be kicked out of employment. But if our criteria for contributing to the moral upholdness of our society is based upon what he has done, then none of those individuals qualify to be there. In as much as we're not structured, oh my goodness, Lord.
Yeah, thank you. As you fix that, let me go to Mr. Gibbon. Mr. Gibbon, I think you will be the last on this topic.
Okay, I think the error that Mr. Cummings made, and I'm going to go to this tired cliche in Liberia when they say, he who preaches equity must come with clean hands. It's exactly that. If he had done his assessment, he would have known that the country was infested or is infested with rebels, with everybody in leadership. I think when we spoke to Edward Amara, our own man here, he said the difference between Liberia and Sierra Leone was the folks in Sierra Leone made it clear that if you took part into the war in any form, you would not be entitled to the arrangement to bring them to power to get into government. In Liberia, it was the opposite, where they actually divided the different portfolio with different warring factions, to the point that within 18 months, these people were so wealthy that they bought themselves right back into government. So when Mr. Cummings came, he should have had that in his portfolio, knowing that these people were already infested. He should have treaded cautiously by saying, ladies and gentlemen, I am here for reconciliation, for who we are. We're going to make use or make do with what we have. And let's have a new beginning. But they all began to say George Weah had rebels. He was training new people to kill people. He had a killing squad. He had all the ex-rebels and all of that. So George Weah was the boogeyman. Everybody said, yeah, he had all the rebels. Then to turn around and do a flip-flop, that was his problem. That tells me, as a CEO, as a man who's supposed to have been at the top of an organization, I think everybody here talks about when you come in, George, we actually have audited the previous government. Mr. Cummings, coming from the outside with corporate experience, should have done his own analysis onto who these people are. 800 folks. If it's true that he vetted 800 and he took the top out of that 800, he had Wisner, he had David McIntosh, Louis Brown. These are the cream of the crop, according to his own investigation. Then I have issue with that. This is why we say Trump is as a Republican, we said Trump, it is not the ideal transformation in the American society, because you cannot transform, we cannot make that transfer from private sector into public sector. There are two different animals here. Trump can get up and fire you tonight. He cannot do that to a minister. He cannot do that to a civil servant. He cannot do that to a minister. He cannot do that to a Supreme Court judge. But in the private sector, you can fire at will. So I blame Mr. Cummings. It's a major strike on his part that he came in unprepared to deal with such a issue, and today is an albatross around his neck.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the night. Time is fast spent, so we'll be going around the room for your closing comment. Let me remind you that this Sunday, on the new day, you will have members of the Liberian Journalists Association. They are planning their convention in Minnesota in September 14 to 17. So the president and the secretary will sit with Priscilla J. Yunanto on the new day tomorrow or Sunday at 1 p.m. You don't want to miss that. Gentlemen, again, thank you. We have gone halfway the topics we wanted to discuss tonight. We'll go around the room now and get your closing comments. Let me start with Mr. Mame, the Gonglo guy.
Closing comment, our campaign is moving well. We are not into large crowd politics. We are doing small gathering and talking to people directly to their hearts. We have sufficient time to communicate our messages in those different meetings. And we see that there will be a ripple effects of these people serving as agents of change and going around and telling people that Councillor Gonglo is coming to make government a place to serve and not a place to steal. That he's coming to fight corruption, and that by just fighting corruption on the civil servant payroll alone, will be able to save over 5 million every year. And that 5 million can be diverted into building schools and improving healthcare system. So we are on the right path. We know that the people will turn to us, or they are turning to us. We are optimistic that we'll perform very well in the election. Liberians need change. We know that George Weah has given Liberia every reason why he should not be re-elected. He has demonstrated gross incompetence. He does not know what is happening in the country. He does not have future plan for the country. There is a danger lying ahead. A danger is lying ahead if you re-elect George Weah as president. Serious danger lying ahead. When you have the Secretary General of the party says, I will have moved on the Justice Minister. I will have moved on the Transport Minister. We're on our way. But the chairman had to call us, and we decided to heed to the chairman. Because he alleges that the Justice Minister and the Transport Minister are not supporting the re-election of President Weah. That is something scary. Because if you consolidate power, if you allow these people to consolidate power, they will be moving from one ministry, one government agency, pulling down people because they feel you disagree. And that will be happening because you don't have a president in charge. Things has changed. To conclude, game man, things has changed. And I get a list of things that have changed here. Drugs taking over the country. We did not see that before the Dillon election. Western cluster, 13.5 million was waived. We did not see that before the Dillon election. Sanction of government officials by the U.S. government. We did not see that during the government. Passport sagas all over the place in the hands of drug dealers. We did not see that before the Dillon election. We go to football, the last one. George Weah department, the best thing he knows. Liberia is the only African country in the MRU that did not qualify for AFCON and the World Cup. On the on the listing of African countries or the world countries on football, Liberia is the tier to the list.
Thank you.
Nothing he can show besides the horses he built for himself.
Thank you, Mr. Mame. Thank you. Let me remind you that Dr. Abdullah Dukle is watching us on the big screen in his living room, eating popcorn. If you are watching us on the big screen, please share your photo.
Dr. Duke, send us some popcorn. And some soda. I need can of soda and popcorn.
Mr. Gamer, you're closing.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great show. Mr. Blambo, my first time meeting you. Nice meeting you. I just want to be real quick here. I like Mr. Mame. But what I like about him is he's the ultimate politician. Mr. Mohammed said
I'm not a politician, sorry.
You are.
No.
And you are a good one, and I will tell you why. Today he said, a man with anti-corruption says, you can use corrupt people, but use them in different areas. Can you imagine? Tip O'Neill once said this. He said, everybody likes their own crooks. You are a crook in this area, but I will put you in the area. Once you are here, you are not going to be crooked anymore. He did the same thing. I asked him, I said, Mr. Mohammed, you have been anti-corruption, anti-corrupt people. But you are sitting on a Spoon network. And Spoon, a convicted felon. He's moderating. He said to me, Mr. Gaiman, Mr. Spoon was convicted, but not the Spoon network. You see how he's splitting hair? That's what politicians do. You hate corruption, but you're hanging with a corrupt person, a thief. He also mentioned that Georgia have built more houses than schools. He never tell you how many houses Georgia built. He never tell you how many schools Georgia built, but he just threw it out there. This is the sign of an ultimate politician. Mr. Mohammed, I like you, but those are the discrepancies. I just had to pull them out. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Sharif for his closing.
Yeah, so real quick, Jerome, you and Michael Gilman. I enjoy you guys. I watched that your coverage the other time, so it was good. But even though you guys have some agenda, but it was still good to me. These guys, man, I tell you. But let me conclude, Dennis. So what it is, Dennis, is that we're talking about the election that's coming up now. Next month. So, we're not far away. But one of the things about Liberia is, you look at, don't we talk about this all the time? You look at decent candidates, you look at people with great ideas, you look at people who, are going to make changes. But where are they? They're at the bottom. They're at the bottom. They're not at the top. They're not going to win. So regardless of your great idea, regardless of your record of activism, right, in the Liberian society, like say a Gonglo, for example, right? But where are they? So they're at the bottom. They're not the ones pulling the crowds. They don't have enough money to even run their campaign. And so that is the sad story of Liberian politics. It's very sad that our politics, will come to this. It will come to, people who, if you steal more money, it's fashionable to steal. It's fashionable to not do anything. It's fashionable in Liberia to be lazy. That is fashionable in the Liberian politics. And all of those things I'm telling you, George Weah understands that. And that's why he's not doing anything, right? And he's not going to do anything because it's fashionable. He's doing what is fashionable. He's doing exactly what the Liberian people that elected him wants him to do. George Weah, he's not stupid. He's a smart guy. He understands that. So he's not going to do anything for Liberia. So forget about development while Weah is in office. The roads are rotten, corruption everywhere. The country is upside down. I mean, the country, you asked the question last time, and I told you that it has burned down. This country has burned down. And you need someone now to come out, put out the fires. There are too many fires. You want someone to come out there and put out the fires. Before, the grass, how, Dennis, I don't know if you live in the interior. Y'all used to burn farm, right? You used to burn the fields to plant the rice. You go out there and y'all lit the fire and then, it burned all these, woods.
Your time finished, Mohammed.
Dennis, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? What are you doing, Dennis?
You can take us to Kilipo at this time to burn farm.
All right. So next week I'll come up with that. Next week.
Yeah, next week we'll finish that story. Let me bring our faithful Evan Morris. He desperately want to add to the discussion. Evans, you have 59 seconds, please, quickly.
Look, Mr. John, let me tell you, thank you so much. You didn't have to do it. You're magnanimous for doing this. I appreciate it so much. Well, let me say hello to the panelists, and let me make a heartfelt plea to Mr. Mohammed. Although I had some anger, but I will show him love in this regards. Mr. Mohammed, even though I may disagree with you sometimes, but it's undeniable that you are a smart guy, you're very researchful, and you're a great presenter when you come on this platform. Please, don't sully your reputation by associating yourself with Stanton Witherspoon. Yes, the platform is big, it's huge, it's this, it's that, but here on Focus on Liberia, it should be your home. But consider this place your home. Even though we don't get the numbers on this platform, but it's a reputable and a platform of integrity. Don't sit on a Stanton Witherspoon and allow him to use you and make you to look like one of his stooges. You're bigger than that. You're better than that. Please come back home. Leave that disgraced platform. And lastly, I would say to Mr. Mohammed, in more like a joking form, what is President Weah's net worth when you say that he's one of the richest men in West Africa? It's not even close to that of Ali Bongo or President Nguema of Equatorial Guinea or even that of Tinubu. So I doubt that he's one of the richest men in West Africa. Liberia is one of the poorest countries.
Bongo.
We don't even produce oil or anything.
Bongo in West Africa?
Say that again?
I said Ali Bongo that West Africa now?
Yeah, Gabon, you can say that Central West Africa, but some people consider West Africa, some people consider Central Africa. But still, he's not one of the richest people in the West Africa, in our region.
Thank you.
So please, we don't know his net worth. Let's not exaggerate and try to make it sound like he's some kind of billionaire or even in the hundreds of millions. President Weah has come up economically, yes, because he's president.
You're 1 minute finished, Elvis.
Okay, thank you. I wanna exhaust it, but thank you for
the man stealing, man. Stop making things up. The man stealing money.
Thank
money.
you. Mr. Collins.
Yeah, gentlemen, I want to apologize for that intermission. I didn't have my phone, but I got disconnected. But anyway, I want to say thanks to the listening audience on the Focus on Liberia. We have come across a lot of salient points, and you guys all heard what we have to offer. I would say that the best offer for all of the conversation right now and the way forward for a better Liberia is the Joseph Boakai ticket for president. So all I would say to Liberians, if anything concerns you regarding the betterment of Liberia, I would say please go to joeboakai.com and make your voice heard by your resources and by your contribution. We need all Liberians on board. I'm glad to have been appointed on a recent committee to help develop the database of professional Liberians who will build a new Liberia. And I'll do it from the point of not because you get donated the Boakai campaign or you donated to any other campaign, but if you are resourceful, you have a value that Liberia can benefit from, we'll be reaching out to you because we want a better Liberia. But in the meantime, all I can say to your listening audience, Mr. Jah, on Focus on Liberia, please go to joeboakai.com and help make this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Blamo.
Yes, I believe that the best way forward for our country is for all of us to be nationalists, regardless of your political party, your tribe, or your religion. I believe that the concept of Messiah and visionary leadership does not exist in Africa at this time, maybe during the colonial period. Nowhere in the world you have one man that the whole country follows, except in China, in Russia, and in a military coup in Gerald Rawlings' case. The problem in Liberia cannot be solved by one man. Our presidential election is not an event that finishes, it's a process. And that process does not end on October 10th. We need to search our souls and go beyond thinking in the box and look at our constitution and the empowerment of our people, going back into history, restoring the rights of the people, so our people can be participants in the noble task of nation building instead of spectators and receivers of gifts, palm oil, and rice and t-shirts. These elections, we have a lot of people in the election. They are great people, Gonglo and other people. I believe the future belongs to the young people. And George Weah has his assets. Do not stand there and believe that George Weah cannot win elections. It's a fantasy. Anybody can win this election. But at the end of the day, we have to constructively engage so that we can ensure the empowerment of the people, so that we can ensure there's a balance of power, so that we can ensure there's proper decentralization, so that we will not have emperors and we call them presidents. It has nothing to do with George Weah. Our whole system of government is a plantation system of government. And we have been elected emperors. We need to review that system and create something where citizens are participants.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless Liberia.
Thank you. Mr. Mambe, you want to respond, I think?
Yeah, just 1 minute quickly.
Yeah, 1 minute, please.
I do not go on the talk show because of a man who have pleaded guilty to federal charges. I go there in honor of the thousands of Liberians who sign up to listen to the message of change. That's why I'm there. And I even frequent. I have my 4-hour job to do, a whole lot. When I have time to speak to Liberians, I go on the platform in honor of the decent characters in our country who tune into listening, including Elvis who can tune into listening. Those are the people I go to speak to. I do not go there because I work for anybody. I do not work for anybody there. I work in international development and make good money. I'm not working for anybody on the platform. So I'm not there because of the person who has the show. I'm there, like I said, in honor of the decent characters who tune in to listening. Those are the people I'm serving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, you got the last word.
Wow, this has been a very interesting night. And to the audience, I just want to say, Liberia is a unique country in all of Africa. It is unique. It's a melting pot with different people coming together. But what was the beginning of our downfall when people started telling us that we are not one? We make mistakes. We do things that are wrong. We are human, inclined to do the wrong things. But we are one people, and we should not allow anyone to divide us. We should not let anyone tell us that we're lazy or anything like that. We are a unique, very progressive group. And what we need to do is to be earnest to ourselves. We need to look at someone and say, if this you have done is wrong, then it is wrong. We have to be a people of integrity. They have allowed us to compromise our integrity. As long as we start telling each other, this thing you are doing is not right, it's not legal, it's not moral, and we should not do it. As long as we support each other and abide by the theory that we will not do wrong to each other, we will begin to rebuild and be back on the path to prosperity. That's where we belong. We are unique, and they're looking to us to lead Africa, but we have to get it together amongst ourselves first so we can take the lead again.
Thank you. On that note, we say whether which other candidate you support, what may be your level of education or your economic status, we are all Liberians. What is incumbent upon all of us is to make Liberia our glorious land of liberty. Have a good night. We are all Liberians, y'all.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.